Everything was swimming in Paolo's sight as if he was back to before he had eye surgery. He could barely make sense of what was in front of him. Searing spots erupted all over his body. Wounds from earlier torn open. Bullet holes. Or was he just imagining the pain? He stretched out his hands, hoping to reach out to anyone who could help him. The desperate screams for help, the non-stop gunfire, people clambering over each other, bullets hitting the walls, the floor, flesh, everything rolled into one piercing drone, like a microphone's feedback that grew louder and louder in his head, gradually clouding his thoughts, muddying what little was left of his consciousness. He might be screaming too, he wasn't sure. He wasn't sure of anything anymore. Am I still alive? Where was Julie? I need to protect Julie. He yelled in his head, fearing that he'd forget, fearing that he'd just pass out, unable to do anything. That he'd just die helpless. His legs got tangled in the stampede, and he tumbled down. A person on the floor broke his fall. Another dropped on top of him, pushing him against the person beneath him. He felt footsteps on his back, on his face. He was yelling. What was he saying? Paolo. Don't die. It wasn't him who was screaming. It was Julie. He couldn't scream, he couldn't move from the pain. Pino. Help him, please. Paolo felt a tug on his back. Someone tried pulling him up by his clothes but couldn't lift him. Whoever it was decided to drag him across the floor instead. He got shoved into something hard. It felt cold and smooth on his cheeks. Was this the cart? There was something warm too. A body? Copy. Copy it. Pino, he croaked. Copy the body or you'll die. Even though he wasn't thinking it, his body moved on its own and reached under the blood-soaked linen. His hand clasped another hand. It was still warm, but he couldn't feel any life from it. He focused on their connection. This dead person, whoever you are. Thank you. Awake already? Paolo. Just stay down, okay? Don't move. Wah. Shut up. His mouth clamped tight. Huh. Why did I do this? He didn't think of closing his mouth. He tried to push himself up, away from the overpowering smell of blood on the floor, but another order came into his head to stay still. His body seized up. Was someone controlling him? He needed to fight it. Knock that off. Someone's controlling me. No way he was going to let. This is Pino, listen to me. Just don't move. He didn't know what was going on, but he relaxed when he heard her name. Yes, this was Pino, he recognized the sound of her thoughts. He was disoriented when he woke up and panicked. Whatever she did before he passed out must have worked since he no longer felt any pain. I'm alive. He realized, cheering in his head. Did she heal him? But he felt different from the time he was healed of his injuries from his gorilla monster form. He strained to recall what happened a few moments ago. His own body provided him the answer, or, to be more accurate, his new body. He must have copied someone's corpse just as he was at death's door. He didn't know whose body this was, but he felt incredible strength. He wanted to jump for joy that he was alive, and he was sure he could touch the ceiling and even burst through it. But his happiness was cut short as a morbid thought crept in his euphoric mind. Pino, who is this? What do you want? Give me back my daughter. Ha. Hey, what's going on? Was that Dom's? She sounded really distressed. Did something happen to Lizzie? Pino didn't answer his question. Don't move no matter what happens, was her reply. You dumbass, said a man. How did you get caught? His voice was familiar. This was Finley, the leader of the group that attacked at them. But why did it sound like he was somewhere ahead? Paolo was sure he had his back to that Adumbri because he was running away, not towards them. Let her go. Ramon roared. My bad, Calds, said a man barely able to control his laughter. He's just too strong. I had too few puppets with me because Decano destroyed most of them. This also sounded like Finley, but the voice came from somewhere behind Paolo. There were two of them talking. Was he going crazy? You already took care of him, replied the first man who spoke, who must be Calder, the twin brother Finley mentioned. Cool. But why did you come here with your real body? Oh, that. This metal woman got a funky eye, so I thought she'd probably notice if I only sent my puppets. Shut up. Ramon said. Are you going to give us back Lizzie or not? Please let my daughter go, pleaded Doms. I'll do anything. As I was saying. Finley forcefully interjected. Turns out I was right that she'd notice. And now you're caught, you dumbass. If you don't let Lizzie go, Ramon said. I'll kill Finley. Yes, I'll kill him. Go ahead. I don't care about if he dies. Ouch, that hurts. You're supposed to be my brother. My twin at that. I heard what you said about my outfit. But it's true. I'm the more fashionable between the two of us. I was only telling the truth. Don't you care about your brother? Dom said. I also care about my baby, Lizzie. We can exchange. Calder laughed. I'm serious. Go ahead and kill him. We're both adults and responsible for our decisions. I'm not responsible for his own skin. Harsh but true, Finley said. My responsibility now is getting Erend. For which, I figured I needed a hostage to exchange for her. Can I do something to help? Paolo didn't know why, but he felt he was invincible. There was just something about this body he copied that he felt he could take them on. The feeling of power coursed through his body when he transformed into the gorilla monster, he could feel it now too. If only he could see what was happening, but there were bodies around him. Pino, please, said Doms. Maybe we can give them Erend. No. Ramon said. What are you even saying? If we give them Erend, I can get my baby back. It won't work like that, lady. You're a good mother and all, but I'm sorry to say I'll be hanging on to your daughter for a while. We'll make really good friends. Why? You only want Erend, right? We won't give them Erend. Ramon shouted. If I release this girl Lizzie or something, was it? You'll just kill us right after. Why no. We won't do that. Don't take me for an idiot like my brother, lady. Just kidding, Fins. Anyway, that mutant guy with blades you got back there holding my brother can take on both of us. I really need your daughter as hostage. He wants a hostage to make sure he gets away from us safely, Pino calmly said. He's not sure if he could get away with Erend. Exactly, Calder said. Firstly, how do I know that's really Erend you got there with you, all covered up and hidden? Secondly, like you said, I can't be certain if Erend is hostage material. For all I know, she can beat me up. I do know she's not human. You do. That's interesting. Just take me instead. Dom said. If you want a hostage, just take me. I'm no threat to you. No, thank you, lady. I'm fine with your daughter. Much safer for me, and more portable too. How about me? This time it was Julie who spoke. If you don't want an adult as hostage, then take me. What? No. Paolo wanted to stand up and stop her, but Pino was immediately inside his mind, assuring him they wouldn't let them take his sister. Wow, you make it sound like I'm bullying kids, said Calder. Erg. Ramon screamed. What's happening? The hell? There were sounds of scuffle. Should he move and see the situation for himself? He knew he copied only a human body, but he felt like he could fight and take on anyone. There was an indescribable feeling of vigor he wanted to release. Calm down, he told himself. He resolved to trust Pino. She was the reason he and Julie survived this long. Pino, what was that? What's going on? Finley escaped Ramon's hold. Why did you let him go? Said Samantha. He shot Gramps. What happened? Where did he go? I am sorry, Ramon mumbled in confusion. I don't know his arm, He was our bargaining chip. Finn's just left me. Calder said. Real dickhead, that brother of mine. Anyway, don't blame each other. Friends shouldn't fight amongst themselves. You need to chase him. Bang! Paolo instinctively flinched from the sudden gunshot. But he stopped the urge to cover his head with his hands. He hoped Calder didn't notice his minute movement. It was obviously important for Pino's plan she was yet to share with him that the enemy didn't know about him. He didn't want to mess it up. No. No. Calder said. No one's chasing anyone. Every one of you stay here. I still have this precious little girl with me, so don't think of doing anything dumb. We're wasting time, Pino said. You're just playing around like your brother. Don't compare me to him. I'm very efficient with my work, mind you. I was even fine to sacrifice him since he was hindering our objectives. Let's cut to the chase then. Where do we deliver errand? Deliver errand? You're obviously not going to give us Lizzie until you feel safe. And that's when you've regrouped with your pals or whatever. Go back to your pals now and we'll go there to exchange errand with Lizzie. Wait. We're not going to give them errand. Ramon, let me handle this. You already messed up. Discord and mistrust in the group, Calder said, I like it. So, where do we deliver errand? Don't waste our time, we still have to tend to our casualties. If you insist on staying here, I assure you, you're not going to get away like your brother. And then we'll hunt him too. Paolo felt a chill up his spine when Pino said that. It was calm and collected, like she was giving a lecture. It didn't sound like a threat at all the way she delivered it. But he was convinced she was going to do it. Oh ho! Is that the Adumbri talking now? Yes. I thought you're supposed to be helping these humans. Whoa. Don't point your finger at me. Pino, don't do it. 5-4. Fine, Calder said with a sigh. You're no fun. He gave them instruction how to get to the biggest conference room in the building where he'd be waiting with the rest of his group. He did promise to keep Lizzie safe. You guys are probably going to have an interesting discussion whether to give us errand or not. Have fun. He's also gone. Vince shook his head as he felt Gregory's pulse. We can't do anything to save him, Ramon said. Both of them moved Gregory's body beside the corpse of his girlfriend, Ayani. Benitez was also dead. And so was Samantha's frail grandfather. Doms and Julie were hugging Samantha, trying to console her. Paolo didn't know much about the people who died, he barely talked to any of them. He did feel bad to be relieved he wasn't one of the dead. For now. Deep down, he knew, he couldn't escape what fate had in store for him. A normal guy turning into a girl would find it hilarious, but he couldn't crack any joke. It wasn't the situation for one. That dark nagging thought at the back of his mind made his heart sink into the bottom of his stomach. He stared at his hands. They were small, and soft, and delicate. But looks could be very deceiving. He held the handle of the cart carrying Aaron's true body and gripped it hard. The metal deformed. Is this how a Corbring feels? Are we going there now? Dom said. She armed herself with a gun from one of the clay puppets Ramon destroyed. Yes, Pino said. Ramon stomped forward and stood in front of the cart. No. We're not giving them errand. They wouldn't give me Lizzie back otherwise. That's just giving them another captive. And we don't know what they can do with the body of a Corbring. We shouldn't let them. She's my daughter. Doms pointed her gun at him. I'll do anything to get her back. What? You're going to shoot me? I don't want to. Either you come with me and Pino and help get my daughter, or you stay out of our way. You're trusting her over me. Ramon pointed at Pino. I know I messed up and let Finley escape. I know I look like a monster, heck, I am a monster. But she's an actual Adumbri. She's kept us alive all this time. She healed all our injuries. Didn't you hear what she said to Calder? She was going to attack him if he didn't leave, even if he had Lizzie as hostage. Why are you trusting her? Actually, Pino said, I had to do that. What? Calder already had Lizzie, but he still wasn't leaving. Why? Because he wanted to play with us. He and his brother, Finley, have the same personality. They want to play with people, watch them suffer. Just like Finley toying with Cassandra, Calder is going to do the same to us. How is that? How? Simple. He's going to make us decide right then and there whether to give up Errand or not, probably make a game out of it. We'll surely be divided, and Calder would enjoy seeing us destroy ourselves. If his only intention was to safely escape while having a bargaining chip, he would have scrammed the moment he got Lizzie. You see, he didn't even want to leave after Finley escaped. That's Ramon lowered his blade. You fought with him before, but we still have no idea what his powers are. He's too dangerous, I had to drive him away. He won't do anything to Lizzie without an audience, so I'm sure she's safe. And now we're going to save her. But you can't be serious in giving Errand to them. I'm not going to allow it. I thought you already understand that Pino is on our side. I mean because, Ramon stammered, who knows what they'll do if they have the body of a Corbring. He said to Pino, weren't you supposed to save her and stop these Adumbri from experimenting on her? You already saved her. You can't just give her back to them. We also can't leave my daughter with them. Pino held up her hand. We're not giving them Errand. And we are getting Lizzie back. How will we do that? Paolo inhaled deeply, sensing it was time for him to step forward. He stood up. Julie noticed him. Her face contorted in distress as she realized what he was going to do. No. She rushed to Pino and confronted her. Did you make him copy Errand to use him as bait? That wasn't my intention. I made him copy Errand's powerful body so he'll survive. There's no point making him copy another person just to end up dying again. I wasn't even expecting him to be able to copy her. Remember that he can only copy corpses, but somehow he was able to copy Errand even though she's only in hibernation. If he couldn't copy her, I would have made him try, someone else. You're lying. Cut that out, Jules. I'm not letting you go. You're the only one I have left. I have to go. You idiot. Didn't you promise you won't do anything stupid? I did. It was weird talking in a girl's voice. Everything felt surreal, like he was still asleep in his bed. He still couldn't believe everything that happened. Being woken up by a monster Mrs. Parker attacking their dad. Their neighbors dying. The whole building turning into a nightmare. All of this felt like he got sucked into a book, which was funny as he hadn't read any books for a while because he was preparing for a contest his band would join next month. He inhaled deeply. I did promise that. So why? Because this is not anything stupid. We're going to save Lizzie and we're going to come back here. He knelt down and punched the floor. The tiles crumbled, his knuckles buried themselves into the concrete. This was every little boy's dream, to have super strength. But he didn't feel excitement. There's nothing to worry about, Jules. I have the body of a Corbring. You're going to go no matter what I say? Yes. I promise I'll be back. Okay. She turned away from him. Pino. I want to ask you something, he said while staring at his sister's back. What is it? When I turn back when I return to my original body. Yes. Nothing. Never mind. He didn't have the heart to finish his question. He knew the answer anyway. Once this transformation ends, he was going to return to his dying body and die. His injuries were too severe. Pino wouldn't be able to do anything about it anymore. Let's go and save Lizzie. Anyone here? I called as I stuck my head inside a room. Everything was bright as day even with the lights off. There was nothing weird inside this random office suite on the floor where our meeting place with the 2MS was located. I think this is a good place for Julie to hide. I turned on the lights and beckoned the others to enter. It was a pretty wide space with no signs of struggle or of monsters. Can you smell anything? You guys go inside, Ramon said, shifting in embarrassment. I'll stay here and guard. You might just smell me. Just yell if you need help. Me, Doms, Paolo, and Julie quickly checked the room. Yep, only 5 of us were going to rescue Lizzie. Well, 4, since we were going to leave Julie here with my real human body. Vince, his son, and Samantha, the only ones who remained of Ramon's companions unless you count Monster Cassandra roaming around somewhere, decided to stay on that floor where we fought Finley and Calder, holing up in a room to hide. They figured it was better to take their chances and wait for the Bid's rescue. We killed probably all of the monsters on that floor, so it was relatively safe for them to remain there. They also had guns from Finley's puppets. Was that much safer than going with us to rescue Lizzie? Probably. I think I would have done the same thing if I was in their shoes, and just pray the giant charcoal monster wouldn't pass by. Julie wanted to come with us, which was obviously pretty dangerous. We settled in a compromise where she'd just hide somewhere kind of nearby, but not really. Which turned out pretty well because I had someone I could leave my body to for my plan later. Pow, listen. Julie put her gun down and grabbed her brother's shoulders. Okay, this is weird. I'm taller than you now. It's really you inside there. Yeah, it's me. Who else would it be? Want some proof? Remember that time you made out with your ex during spring break and got caught by? Shush. You promised to forget about that. Just kidding. I'm just, you're all so serious. This is serious. What were you going to say? I'm going to take care of myself. I already promised we'll return with Lizzie. It's just, I wanted a little sister for a long time. Maybe you should stay like this. Huh? Just kidding. You're right. It's getting too serious. It's 3:47 a.m. Right, you shouldn't waste time here. She hugged her brother. I'll just be serious here and say that do be careful. And I hope you can retain that form until we get help. What do you mean? Julie pushed Paolo. Go. Save Lizzie quickly. Did she suspect her brother was going to die when he returned to his original body? Because I was thinking that too. And Paolo most likely as well. He was really super dead. I was even surprised he managed to copy my human body before he kicked the bucket. Take care of Erend, I said. I will. Both of us will just be here in the small room behind the photocopier. Don't come out unless it's us, okay? I think we can have like a code or signal. We'll say, your little sister is here when we come get you. Julie forced herself to chuckle as she wiped a tear off her eye. Okay guys, I know you'll come back. I'll surely be back, I thought, but I don't know about the rest of us. The conference room we were headed to was located at the end of this floor. I knew it opened to a massive cantilevered balcony, the prominent feature of this building, which overlooked the Olympic-sized pool. I haven't been on that balcony, I only saw it from the pool below during the rare times I felt like swimming early in the morning when there were no people around. This is how it'll go, I said. We're going to exchange Paolo with Lizzie. Then. Will they believe I'm the real Erend? Don't worry about that. I know a bit about Erend and I'll tell you what to say through our mental link. Once they get you, that's where it'll get dicey. I'm sure they'll give us Lizzie because they'll attack us afterwards anyway. You're right, Dom said. They won't let us go alive. What's the plan then? Asked Ramon. Simple. We fight back. It's not like we have any choice. I mean, yeah. Fight with escaping in mind. Paolo, when they get you, they'll restrain you, maybe with something like those huge reinforced arm cuffs the bid use when they arrest in a dumbree. They'll make sure you won't be able to help us. Resist with everything you got. Yeah, I will, Paolo said. I'm sure Aaron's body can put up a fight. It's on Ramon to rescue you and bring you back to our side. Ramon, the moment they touch Paolo, you attack and help him return to us. This is the crucial part of the plan. Once we've regrouped, we'd have more firepower to escape. I paused, then added. It's important we help each other so all of us can get out of here alive. Which goes without saying. But I still mentioned it anyway because it was more for Doms than the other two. I really hoped she wouldn't abandon us once she got Lizzie, but I had to plan for that possibility. What do we know about them? Dom said. Finley is the guy with that clay plaster, whatever power. Easy for us to break, Ramon said. He uses it mainly for making puppets. Those aren't strong, we can count them as more grunts on their side. His brother, Calder, is more annoying with his illusion powers. You can see through it, right? Paolo said. Didn't he back off when you pointed your finger at him? I was face down on the floor so I didn't see what was going on. Not exactly see through it. I can only see if a person is actually fake, or if Calder's hiding someone behind an illusion, I explained. I was bluffing when I pointed my finger at him, and I have to thank Finley for that. I was sure Calder heard Finley's comment I was doing something weird with my fingers and that I could see through the clay puppets and illusions. So, I pointed my finger at one of Calder's men hiding behind him. He had others with him. Dom said. There were 3 more real people covered by a wall of illusion. When Calder realized I could see them, he backed off. Thankfully, he did because I really didn't have anything else besides some minor body control powers. It was you, Paolo said. Sorry about that, I had to make you stay still so Calder wouldn't notice you. Ramon said, that time I suddenly stopped when we were fighting. That was also me, I confessed. Better tell them about it and not give them any reason to mistrust me. But you easily broke out of it. I'm too weak now to do anything major with my powers, that's why I'm mainly relying on Paolo and Doms. I'll tell you guys if there's any illusion shenanigans going on. Who else is there? There's Slinky, a huge man wrapped in bandages, he said. I shot him in the head and he just laughed it off. I think there's an even bigger dude with some kind of weapon. There's also a guy with augs, bionic eyes and modified arms, the works. Oh, and I nearly forgot. Their leader is this half-Asian lady. I'm not sure if she's in a dumbree too. Could we take them all on? Paolo said. We don't need to fight to win, Dom said. Once we have Lizzie, she didn't continue her sentence. We have an ace up our sleeve. Something that can help us win this impossible matchup, asked Paolo. I think so if it comes down to it, I can divert all my power and give it to Ramon. I'm sure he'll become several times stronger than he is now, even if only for a short time. But I don't want to do that unless our situation becomes dire. More dire than now direr. Why not? Ramon can beat up all of them. Let's just do that then. No, because Doms will be helpless. I looked Paolo straight in the eye. And you'll be helpless too. And dead, I added in my head. From his expression, he understood what I was trying to tell him. I am not that confident protecting others, Ramon said. I don't have a good track record so far. Don't think about it now, I said. I wasn't able to save. We'll all fight together, Dom said. You're not alone. Okay guys, are you ready? I said as we stood in front of the gilded oak double doors. This was like sticking my head into the gaping maw of a starving crocodile. Normally, I'd be giddy from this life-and-death situation, excited for the prospect of gambling my life and coming out on top because I was so awesome. Come to think of it, this may be too much of a risk that I wouldn't have gone through with this without a backup plan. But I do have a backup plan. Which was why I didn't feel any thrill. 10 minutes. And if it turned out I couldn't take them on, I'd already be out of this room and be off looking for a place to hide. No risk whatsoever. You guys really came. Finley said. See, I told you they will, Calder said. They were easy to tell apart with their clothes. You owe me. We were inside a very large room, wider than the biggest lecture hall we had over at Cresthorne College. Given the height of the ceiling, with lavish crystal chandeliers dangling from above, this was probably 2 floors merged together. All of the tables and chairs were stacked to the side, all except one table in the middle. Finley and Calder were having tea with Lizzie. Corpses of humans and monsters surrounded them. There were elaborate cameras and lighting set up as if they were shooting a movie. To our right were glass vats or tanks filled with green liquid, some containing monsters, some humans. There were also other machines I didn't recognize. This was straight out of some sci-fi horror movie shit, like there were mad scientist experiments going on here. On our left were people. Real live humans. Not monsters. They were bound and gagged, guarded by the grunts of the 2MS. They're gathering the survivors, Paolo gasped. I think we can guess what they're doing to them, I said. The room just extended on and on until an expansive wall of windows. Unfortunately, we couldn't see the view outside because those huge-ass vines were crawling all over the balcony, pressing against the glass. Near the windows, a short woman in fitting business attire, probably a bit taller than me, walked to and fro while talking on the phone, her heels annoyingly clicking on the tiled floor. She's their leader. They're not here, Ramon whispered to me. The other Adumbri? Yeah. The dangerous-looking ones are not here. We might really have a chance of winning this. Unless they're hidden by an illusion, I said, scanning the room. Lizzie. Doms called out. I'm here for you. Mommy. Tell your mommy we did nothing to you. We're just having tea, aren't we, Lizzie? She nervously nodded. What did you do to her? Doms demanded. Nothing. Finley said. We didn't actually give her tea. This is just water. We're not that irresponsible as to give a kid tea, Calder said. Don't be afraid, sweetie, Dom said. Mommy is here. There's nothing for her to be scared of. Calder had his hand on Lizzie's shoulder. We're all friends here. Take your hands off her. Relax, lady. You'll have your daughter soon. I see that you've brought errand. Boom. The ornately carved column near their table suddenly exploded, showering them with debris. Finley used his body to cover Lizzie. Can't a person talk on the phone in peace around here? The woman at the far end of the room boomed with an impressively loud voice for her stature. Get me another phone. Her voice reverberated around us. One of her men sprinted over and gave her what she wanted. Sorry about that, Miss Stella, Finley said. You didn't need to throw your phone at us. And here's the reason why she's their leader, I observed. As Stella approached the table halfway across the length of the room, her expression changed to something gentler. Hello. You must be Erend. We finally have a chance to meet each other. You seem plain looking for all the trouble you've caused. Answer her. Paolo nodded his head. What was that? Just a nod. I don't know what to say. I don't know, Paolo replied, following my instructions in his head. Maybe. Just a clarification, she's not my friend. I don't know her at all even though I've seen her. Miss Stella, that's just water. Refreshing. She looked at Paolo and said, "Are you really Erend?" "How do you not know the face of the person you're looking for?" said Paolo, masquerading as the real me. "I am Erend." "Why would I lie about that? Why did you add the part about lying thing?" I said. "That's something a liar would say." "Really?" "Sorry. Just follow what I tell you to say." "Why would you lie about who you are?" Stella said, catching on to Paolo's slip-up. "That's an interesting question. We do have pictures of Erend, and yes, you do look like her. You are, most likely her. But aren't you just a smidge too eager to come here? Because I want to save the little girl. I'm here now, so release her." "Is that so? She doesn't have any part in this. It's me you want." "But what is this you speak of?" Stella said. "This? I don't know," Paolo said with very convincing delivery. "All I know is you had me kidnapped a couple of weeks ago. There was this guy with weird hair. He said his name's Rofirio. The guy with the power to liquefy solid surfaces he touches. This is information Erend would know," I explained to Paolo. Then to all of them, I said, "I don't notice anyone hidden by illusions, so the other Adumbri Ramon saw before aren't here. Calder could make them look like the hostages or something, but I don't know why he'd do something like that since they already have the upper hand." "Rofirio and his purple mohawk," Finley said. "May his purple mohawk rest in peace," his brother chimed in. Stella, however, was silent, texting on her phone as if we were a waste of her time. A tactic to show dominance? Or she wanted us to continue talking because she didn't have much information? Probably both. Fine. I really didn't want to ask questions, but I had no choice since the ball was in my court. "Why did you kidnap me?" Paolo said. The twins looked at each other. Stella was still focused on her phone. "Is it because of this?" He stomped on the ground, following my instruction, and made the floor shake. Cracks branched out from his foot all across the beautiful marble slab beneath us. "Whoa!" Calder said, keeping the pot and cups on the table steady. "She really is not human," Finley said. Theatrics. And it did get Stella's attention as I hoped. "Yes, so it appears," she said. "An Adumbri like our intel said. Alike, yet very much unlike us, I bet. Is this the reason the supplier requested us to capture you? However, why didn't he give us any information? We incorrectly assumed you're just a normal girl." "The supplier?" I blurted out. "The supplier," he echoed. "Here I am now. So, release Lizzie." She still wasn't listening to Paolo. "That explains one thing, or maybe it doesn't. You, true Adumbri, in contrast to us. Very rare, yes. But why does the supplier specifically want you? I'm sure he has plenty of true Adumbri at his disposal." Her eyes narrowed as she looked past Paolo, glaring at me, Doms, and Ramon. My. They don't know the true value of Erend. I exclaimed to the three. Their bosses must have kept it a secret from them. We shouldn't let it on that she's actually a prospective Corbring, or they won't even bother exchanging Lizzie for Paolo and just attack us. Paolo stepped back, overwhelmed by the questions. "Help. What do I tell her?" "Greetings from Vegas," I said with a jovial wave. Time to take center stage. It was hard to verbally maneuver through only a mouthpiece. "Well, that's not really accurate. I'm a mercenary hired by the guys at Vegas, and so are the rest of us. But we're not actually from there." I gestured to Ramon and Doms. "Just trust me on this," I told them. How would Stella disprove my lie? Both of us were on a fishing expedition, but she wasn't aware I was in the same boat as her. In her efforts to fish, she revealed she didn't have much information about what was happening, giving me an opening to insert lies. Mercenaries from Vegas? Unlike you, a Dumbry, if you're really deserving of that label, the three of us are the real deal. I placed my hands on the sides of my head and dramatically pulled it up. Stella raised her brow at my demonstration. With the little I recalled of their operations from my short interaction with Vanessa and her friends, I knew they had some way of stopping a Dumbry from taking over their bodies while remaining mostly human in appearance. My full body wasn't human except only vaguely in shape. There was only one conclusion here. Another true Dumbry? Stella said. A very developed manifestation. I'll take that as a compliment. You're saying the Vegas boys hired you? I suppose it's for deniability. They know you'll notice if one of their own is sneaking around your territory. I was super confident with my lies because the truth was so incredibly unbelievable that anything else sounded like a plausible explanation in comparison. That's why they hired us instead of sending their people. And here I was already thinking of killing you guys. I suppose I'll have to be courteous to our colleagues. Much obliged. There's no need for violence. I'm aware of the, thing you have going on with our bosses, but we have no part in that. So what brings you guys here in our wonderful city of La Esperanza? We're here to guard errand. Discreetly. She wasn't aware of us until tonight when we had to reveal ourselves to her after what you did to this entire place. Oh, really? Blanchette. She's a true Dumbry too, as you put it. I don't personally know her, but she is quite famous in Dumbry circles. I had no idea she was in this city until she showed up at the docks in her giant werewolf form. I didn't know she was also there at Eve. Isn't that your? If you don't know, then you don't need to know. Touchy. Anyhow, I haven't got the slightest idea what Blanchette wants with errand either, so I can't help you there. I paused to give time for Stella to react, but she didn't say anything, so I pressed on. We've been living in this building since Erend moved in to keep watch over her, and it's only this time that people are coming for her. It turns out it was you guys. Now, I'm not sure what to do. At the end of the day, aren't your bosses and ours on the same side? Stella smirked. Of course, we are. She circled around the table as she continued, which is why our current predicament is interesting. Both of our groups want Erend. Why though? Is the supplier pitting us against each other? How does this Blanchette figure into all of this? I don't have the answer to your questions. I presented her disjointed tidbits, some true, mostly false, and let her draw her own conclusion. I have my suspicions. To be candid, we don't care about your internal affairs, I said, cutting her off for some pushback. We're focused on fulfilling our contract. Living as an Dumbry is very difficult, which is why we have to align ourselves with you people even though we don't want to. Isn't that a bummer? She said with a fake sympathetic expression. Unfortunately, it's apparent now we can't carry out our work because of, let's just say, internal bickering among the management. So, we're pulling out of this job, and you carry on with your business. We just want to get the daughter of our Doms here. Then to Doms, I said, sorry for not thinking of a fake name for you. Will she believe us? Doms asked. It doesn't matter. What? I thought you're trying to bluff her we're on the same side. Not really, I said. She won't believe us no matter what we say. And herein lies the beauty of this situation. I bet Stella's brain was burning itself out thinking of various possibilities. She'd be considering explanations I couldn't come up with as a lie, especially when I had no idea about their organization, or maybe that was with an S since there were at least 2 rival groups here. If I was in Stella's shoes and someone explained to me the actual truth, all this nonsense shit of spooky errand, I hope you're not there listening to my thoughts, I wouldn't believe them. I'd probably attack them for trying to take me for a fool. Thus, the best course of action was to give an acceptable lie, and Stella would come up with a more believable explanation even if it was nowhere near the truth. She'd convince herself it was the truth I was hiding, doing my job for me. Unknowingly, she'll provide us with a reason why she shouldn't just kill every one of us. I'm really having fun here. I wasn't in any danger at all, but I still didn't want to lose to Stella. There was only the matter of exchanging Lizzie left. Stella stopped walking and paused right behind Lizzie. She straightened her ruffled hair with her fingers. What does our little friend here have to do with it? She's your daughter. Yes. Dom said. I had her before I turned. Good thinking adding that. Why is she with you? We've been watching Errand for a long time, Dom's replied. She followed the story I was feeding in her head. To fit in the place, like living here in this building, I brought my daughter with me. Isn't that sweet? Please, she's the only family I have. She's already writing off her husband. She wasn't wrong about that one though. Paolo, your turn to speak, I said as I taught him his lines. He boldly stepped forward. Dom's is my neighbor. I've played with Lizzie plenty of times and I've grown to love her. You still want to save her even after knowing her mother was hiding secrets from you? Yes. Even if she was just some random kid, I still don't want her to be dragged in this mess. Release her and I'll go with you guys with no resistance. Very commendable, Stella said with a smile. We're not monsters as to take a child away from her mother. She helped Lizzie off her chair and told her to come to us. Finley and Calder stood back. Jackpot. Whatever wrong explanation Stella came up with led her to the conclusion it wasn't worth it to mess with us. Paolo swallowed and took a deep breath. I could feel his nervousness through our link. He closed his eyes and suddenly became calm, as if he accepted he wouldn't return once he gets to their side. He started walking, and Lizzie followed suit. Everyone, even the hostages and the guards, all watched the two of them approach each other. Doms walked forward, but I stopped her. Wait for Lizzie, I said. Ramon. You ready? Once we get Lizzie, we could safely start fighting. Yes. Just tell me. Don't let them notice you're preparing to charge. To Paolo, I said, once they lay their hands on you, fight them. If I still had a human body, I would have found it hard to control my body and not sigh in relief as the two of them passed each other. This has been probably my biggest face-off with anyone before. My verbal tussle with Bianca had way lesser stakes than this. Some thrill was welcome every now and then. It was only a few seconds of both of them walking to the respective sides, but it felt like it stretched to minutes. Stella was smiling smugly. I didn't like it. Doms couldn't hold it any longer and ran to Lizzie once she was a few feet away from us. My baby. I'm sorry I let them take you. She knelt down and hugged her. I focused on Paolo. Finley and Calder went to meet him while Stella drank another cup of water. Her eyes were over the lip of the cup, staring straight at me. Her shoulders shuddered. She was chuckling. Paolo. Fight them. I pointed my finger and aimed. Ramon, go. Paolo had his fists up, but Finley and Calder run past him, rushing to meet Ramon's attack. He looked back in confusion. Look out. The clay men jumped over Stella and the table and piled on top of Paolo, trying to pin him down with their numbers. Paolo fought them back in a fit of rage. Their brittle body parts broke off with every punch and kick. Ramon engaged Finley and Calder. I shot Calder with my finger and ordered him to stop. Seeing the opening, Ramon pummeled him to the ground, then he took on Finley. Payback time, you bastard. Get up, Calder. I squeezed every drop of my concentration to take Calder out of the fight. Ramon was handling Finley pretty well, he beat him once, he should be able to do it again. Were we winning? Stella flipped the table to the side, then haughtily walked over to Paolo fighting the clay soldiers. She shoved them away and reached for him. He punched her right on the jaw, but her head didn't even move an inch. Stella grabbed his head and slammed it to the floor, almost burying it in one go. We're not winning. Ramon, you need to help. Wait. Take him hostage. I ordered. He didn't question me and tried to hold on to Finley with his purple blade held to his neck. She grabbed Paolo by his long hair and pulled up his limp body. His eyelids fluttered. He was barely conscious. Or else what? Can we exchange people again? I said. Stella stuck her tongue out at me. I don't think so. Errand. Ramon shouted. Ow, Finley said, right next to my ears. Stay where you are, I said. Good that he didn't mistakenly call Paolo with his real name. Or maybe he just reacted to seeing my human body, even if a fake one, getting beaten up. I could relate. Yeah, Ramon, my pal, my buddy, Finley taunted him. Stay here with me. Shut it or I'll kill you. The minutes were ticking down before I was out of here. I shouldn't feel anything for these people anymore. Yet, I was peeved. My last moment in this face would be losing. What could I do here now though? Nothing. Transforming into Blanchette later and trying for a round 2 wasn't also looking that good either. Especially since I needed to fight and eat a lot of random monsters to make my Blanchette form stronger before duking it out with Stella. I was better off just escaping. And getting revenge with my Blanchette body wasn't the point. Even beating Stella wasn't the point. This was going to be a failure for Pino's heroic persona. As Pino, I was not only running out of options but also of time. I could walk away and I will, but my first intentionally crafted hero face was going to crash and burn with nothing to show for it. The surviving clay creations of Finley, 5 of them, formed a wall in front of Stella. Did he realize my ability had something to do with shooting with my fingers? Not that I would try controlling her. I was already busy keeping Calder still. Weirdly, this guy wasn't fighting back that hard, just lolling around on the ground like he was taking a nap. His mind was quiet, no yelling or whatever. You think you can order me around? Finley retorted, not showing any reaction to the pain. But if you ask me as a friend. Enough of that friend talk. Ramon, don't let him get to your head, I said. Focus, or else he'll escape from you again. I am that won't happen again. But what about Erend? I'm sure they won't kill her. Lots of things worse than death, Finley chimed in. They're worried about Erend, Finley called out. She's already healing herself, Stella said. No harm done. Permanently anyway. And why do you care about her? What's all this? Can't blame us for still trying to fulfill our job of protecting her, I nonchalantly replied. All of us here are on same side, right? You said it yourself. Our contract didn't specify any exceptions, I said. Let her make of that what she will. What will you do to Erend? Hand her over to the supplier and be done with this. I don't know what he wants with her, nor do I care. We have plenty of other matters to attend to, especially after our relatively successful, I think that's a fair assessment, field testing of the new weapon commissioned by the supplier. A return to form, you know. We were weapon smugglers a long time ago. So I've heard. You look pretty young if you were already around since that time. Young and pretty, Stella corrected me. She gestured for one of her men to fetch her an object she was miming. There's a lot cosmetic surgery can do with a rapidly regenerating body. You'll just hand her over, just like that? I said, making a last-ditch effort. How about? I know where you're going with that, Stella said. I wasn't born yesterday. I shrugged. It's worth a try. What the hell is that for? Ramon said, as one of the grunts handed Stella a scary syringe, about the size of a water bottle, filled with fluorescent blue liquid. He said as she jammed the needle into the side of Paolo's neck. You're weirdly attached to her, Stella observed. It's I. They're just putting her to sleep, I said as I felt Paolo's woozy mind go completely blank. Exactly, Stella said. It's for the best. I don't want to keep on punching her. She let go of Paolo's hair, letting him drop to the ground. Maybe we can put her in one of the vats. Do we have an empty one? Hold on. Ramon said. We still have Finley. Don't, I started to say. And his brother. He pointed his bladed arm threateningly at the unconscious Calder. What? He snapped at me. We can't just let them take Paolo. I'm thinking of a plan. Stella already didn't care about us. I was going to suggest we leave Paolo and escape. It could be a win for me of sorts. But perhaps I could still do something with this. Contrary to what I expected, they knocked out Paolo instead of putting him in restraints. Still overwhelming odds. But there was something else bothering me that could be used in our favor. You can have them. Huh? You don't care what happens to these two? They're your men. No. Come on, Stella, Finley said. Don't be like that. She's bluffing us, I told Ramon, even though she wasn't. You're bluffing, he said out loud. There's no way you'll just let your investments on these two go to waste, he continued, following the lines I fed him. Stella held up a finger. Still no connection. She frowned at her phone. And since I already have a finger up, I'm going to point out a few things to you. 1. Errand, as a true Adumbry, is more valuable than those useless twins. 2. You're acting very suspiciously for your story. You there? Hello there. It's me. The metal woman, Pino. Nice mental thing you've got going here. Calder, at your service. 3. Stella continued as she held up another finger. No one's going to miss if the three of you disappear. The boys at Vegas won't lift a finger no matter what happens to you. 4. True Adumbry who still haven't been completely overtaken. I bet I can get a high price for just your corpses. What? Ramon said. You're going to kill us? He stared at me, concern was on his half-monster face. I wasn't unnerved by what Stella was saying because I was busy negotiating with Calder. You stay out of our way, we do our best to take down Stella. By the way, how did you? Decano. I recalled Finley mentioned he took care of Decano. There was some internal shit going on with them that I could capitalize on. I see. You're good. Tell Finn's our code, I'm your bestest friend in the world. He'll understand. 5. I'm out of fingers. And you're out of time. All of us tensed up. I still wasn't finished planning. Stella grinned at us. Don't get so worked up, I'm just kidding. You'll seriously fight back if I try to kill you. Which is a hassle on my part because I still don't know all of your powers. She nodded her head towards me. You, for one, are strangely calm. We're all on the same side, was my answer. I was preoccupied with explaining the plan to Ramon and Doms, the latter was strangely silent. Are you being serious right now? Ramon said. Don't let Stella notice your reaction. Can we trust them? I'm not sure, but we don't need to trust them. My favorite answer. Trust not the person, but the certainty of their motivations. Which was why I wasn't sure I could count on Doms. She was behind me, blissfully reunited with her daughter. Since we are colleagues, Stella drawled, I do hope you can help me with a small favor. Right after threatening to kill us, it was obvious she wasn't asking for our consent. Her gaze swept over the cowering hostages. There's something I'd like to capture on film. It'll make for very good promotional videos. I never paid attention to the hostages before because I knew I couldn't save them, I was already having a hard time saving the ones with me. One step at a time for my heroic journey. But now that I closely examined them, I noticed tiny red blips inside of their heads. It dawned on me. Seriously? You're going to make us fight them? A lucky guess or your powers at work? She pointed at a metal box, the size of a briefcase, sitting on top of the large machines beside the green vats. It looked similar to the one we found before. Her men hurriedly brought it to her. They're going to turn into monsters, Calder said. I guessed that much. Any tips? See that box, he said. Stella was pushing some buttons on it. It transmits a signal that controls the monsters on a basic level. What's happening to them? Ramon said. The hostages started to transform. Some grew larger, some smaller, most stayed humanoid in size and shape. All becoming horribly disfigured. They were ripping the ties that bound their legs and hands. A lot of them sprouted extra limbs. They chewed their gags as their mouths widened, crying out a hair-raising cacophony of an inhuman choir. If we win we get to go. I said. Is that it? Correct. Stella said. Adumbri versus subjects infected by the XR series. We're not going to do that, Dom said, surprising me by speaking up. They're humans too, said Ramon. We're not joining your stupid game. I was about to say that Ramon had already killed plenty of monsters, but I was memorizing the instructions of Calder. I thought you might refuse, Stella said. That part about being humans though, eh? In a blur, she threw something. It blew past my head, the sweeping gust almost toppling me. There was a loud crash as that something collided with the wall behind us. And another phone gone. You might have already gotten your daughter, but I hoped you wouldn't just leave your friends. I turned around. Dom's was inching towards the doors, but Stella nearly hit her with her phone. Dom's didn't meet my gaze. I wasn't judging her or anything, it was natural she'd try to escape with her daughter. Speaking of her daughter, what is that? There was something inside of her too. All of you will fight. We have no part in this. Dom said. Just let me and my daughter go. I can't do that, because your daughter needs this. Stella showed us a vial. Sorry. My bad for suggesting that to Stella, Calder said. I already knew what he was apologizing for. Dom's figured it out without any more explanation. What's inside my baby? She raised her gun, one of those we nabbed from Finley's clay soldiers. Are you sure you want to shoot? You might hit this oh so important vial. She lowered her weapon and contacted me. I'm sorry I was about to leave. I understand. I'm really sorry. Don't worry about it, I told her. We're all in this together. For a few more minutes anyway. I need your help. We will all help each other. Give me your gun. I gave her a rundown of the plan. You guys get a good shot of this, Stella barked at her men operating the cameras. We're about to start. Sure, we are, I thought, smirking in my head. Ramon, go. Ramon and Finley fought. He bodily threw the claymaking bastard away. Calder, supposedly breaking free from my power, jumped on Ramon. He was also flung aside, fulfilling our deal to get them out of the fight. Then Ramon yelled, I'll get you, charging at Stella. Oh, she said, surprised by the sudden turn of events. What's going on, huh? The controller for the monsters was snatched away from her hands by none other than Erend. Ramon leapt across the air and crashed into Stella before she could go after Paulo. I controlled Paulo and tweaked the machine, recalling the instructions of Calder, to scramble its signal. How are you awake? Stella said at Paulo while she kicked Ramon, ripping her tight skirt, sending him flying into the chandelier above. Stella went after Paulo next, but I ordered him to fight back. I'm going in, Dom said. I'll protect Lizzie, I assured her. Good luck in getting the vial from Stella. Thank you, she said. It wasn't just a 3-versus-1 fight. Many of the hostages were already full monsters and joining in as well. But they weren't attacking just us, they were attacking everyone. That machine box thingy we messed with sent all sorts of mixed signals, driving them wild. The human grunts of the two MS fought for their lives as the monsters fell upon them. The monsters were also eating each other, targeting those slow to transform, eating the ones who were mostly human. Aunt Pino. Lizzie hugged me as we retreated to the door. I'm a bit busy here, I said. A woman with the uniform of a condominium employee was crawling on the floor, heading for us. Her skin and flesh were melting off her skeleton as if it were hot wax. I shot her a few times on the head. Thankfully, the parasite was in the same place as her brain. I'm not feeling well. I should get you out of here. No, I can't leave them or they'll lose without my powers. Or lose faster rather. Because the three of them were already losing now. Stella was basically just bullying Paolo, Doms, and Ramon. It would have been a funny scene, given she was just a bit taller than me, but she fiercely rained blows on the three of them with such speed that they were like stationary punching bags. I felt a bit sorry for them. Aunt Pino, it hurts. Hang on. Maybe I should just tell Lizzie to run away while I stayed here. But I wasn't sure if she'd be safe on her own, especially when all of the monsters around us were going crazy. Monsters? I looked down. Whoa. Lizzie stared back at me with snake-like eyes. Is something wrong with me? Bam. Bam. Doms bounced off the floor like she was a thrown stone skipping across a river. Mommy. You want this? Stella said, throwing the vial at Doms. It shattered on the floor beside her. Doms reached for it, her shaking hands trying to scoop its contents off the floor. No. 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 Don't get so worked up, Stella said. That's just water. There's no cure. What? That's what you get for thinking you could trick me. No. Doms cried out. That's not true. She stared with glazed eyes at the pieces of the vial on her palms while its contents, if it was really water, slipped through her fingers, dripping to the floor. She was oblivious to a couple of monsters crawling towards her. Aunt Pino. Yeah, I see them. Come on. We save Mommy. Go away. Lizzie then picked up a broken piece of the marble flooring and threw it at the monsters near her mother. The head of a mangy goat man snapped back, the piece exploding upon hit. She was becoming freakishly strong. The monster gang turned their attention to her. Don't touch Mommy. Lizzie also helped out by throwing chunks of the floor at them, driving them away. They're gone. Go, go. Mommy. Doms, are you all right? I said. A stupid question, but I was required by good guy law to ask it. Part of her craggy helmet was cracked. Pieces of it fell off, revealing half of her bruised face with strands of her hair matted by sweat and blood. I need to get that cure. She trembled as she tried to push herself up. Her arms surrendered, and she collapsed in a heap. That woman. Don't move, I said, or you'll hurt yourself more. She must be hiding it, she insisted, still in denial. You're terribly injured. You have to stay still. I wasn't a doctor, but I knew that despite a tough as heck exterior, she was still a squishy human inside. Which meant that Stella's hits surely did a number on her body. Just like having concussions when the brain gets sloshed inside the skull by heavy impacts, vibrations from each blow certainly hurt Doms even if her armor was still mostly intact. There has to be a cure. You rest, Mommy. Lizzie hugged Doms. I noticed her hair, which was a shade lighter than her mother's brown, was growing longer and turning ghostly white at its roots. The skin on the back of her small hand had streaks of purplish gray, starting to flake and forming a patchwork of scales. Lizzie, don't get close. You'll get hurt sharp the armor. No. I'll stay here with you. She coughed violently. Flecks of blood sprayed on Dom's white chest plate. Sweetie. It hurts, Mommy. I'm sorry. Tears streamed down Dom's bloodshot eye that wasn't covered by her broken helmet. Lizzie shook her head. It's not your fault. The bad lady did this to me. I could tell from her voice, which was beginning to sound demonic, she was trying to stop herself from crying. Where's Daddy? It'll be okay. Tell Daddy to buy medicine. I will, sweetie. Buy medicine for you. Doms closed her eyes. Mommy. Don't do what Grandma did. Lizzie grabbed my arm. Her nails grew long and sharp, scraping my metal skin. Aunt Pino, please help Mommy. If I abandoned Doms and focused my powers on either Ramon or Paolo, we'd have a chance of injuring Stella. Who knew, maybe we could beat her on the unlikely chance she insisted on playing around and not using her powers. However, I, Pino, the one and only good Adumbri, the Adumbri that helps and saves people, won't let my companion die if I could help it. Until the last moments of my transformation, I had the face of a hero, and a hero I shall be. Furthermore, I spent a crap ton of effort keeping Doms alive. I'm going to help your mommy with everything I can. Lizzie mumbled something, which was probably, thank you. She gave me a pained smile, gratitude was on her emerald snake eyes. Those were glowing now. Sweat covered her forehead, 2 nubs pushed out of her temples, probably growing into horns. She slowly dropped down on her mother's lap. I pumped Doms with more and more healing power. This was going to eventually have a negative effect, but I figured she'd want to continue fighting for her daughter until the bitter end, which was pretty near. There might be no way to reverse her daughter's monsterification, but it would be good to at least have a semblance of revenge. Hurting Stella, even just a teensy-weensy bit, was better than nothing. I was certain her husband, my pal, Caesar, would approve of this. Go down fighting and all that crap. What's happening? Dom said, beginning to recuperate. Wait, no. Calm down, I said. I'm doing the best. You still have powers? Yes, but I. Heal Lizzie. Lizzie? How about Yo? Don't heal me. Save your powers for her. I actually half made up my mind to throw Lizzie as far away as I could before she started attacking us. But although I wasn't well versed in family matters, I had a hunch Doms would prefer Lizzie stay by her side even if she turned into a monster. I'm not sure what I can do for her, I honestly replied. The red color of the parasite inside Lizzie expanded from nape of her neck up the back of her head. I should heal you instead. No. Doms shoved me. Do anything for Lizzie, please. The parasite has taken root in her spine and is spreading to her brain, maybe replacing it. I don't think we can do anything at this point. I will kill it. Didn't you hear what I just said? Doms sat straight up, having recovered some strength. She examined Lizzie, who curled on her lap, hugging herself and shuddering from pain. Tell me where it is. I'll do it. Do what? You're going to try to kill it? Yes. Kill it while it's embedded in her brain. Are you insane? Here. Dom swept away Lizzie's mostly white hair, exposing the back of her neck. Hold on. This was too crazy, even for me. Even if you kill it, we don't know what will happen to Lizzie. She held the blade on her gauntlet right below her daughter's hairline. But if we don't do anything, she'll completely become one of those monsters, she said. Despair was making her voice crack. There's no guarantee she'll return to human after. I know. I'll take care of her. Hide her from the bid, I'll figure it out. And you might kill her too. Heal her. We're wasting time. I'm going to do it. If that's what you want. I myself sometimes dabble in the realm of bad ideas, but this one was exceptionally bad. That freaking thing was already part of Lizzie's brain. If she started to attack us, I was leaving them both. I'll kill the parasite, and you heal my baby at the same time. Life? That might do it. I know my job was to save Paolo, but I can't get him from her. Had enough? Stella called from the other side of the room. Her hand was around Paolo's neck. Can you just give it a rest? He kept on trying to escape despite being knocked out cold because I was controlling him. I was certain she wouldn't kill him, so she wouldn't be able to stop him unless she beat him up so bad he couldn't move. I doubted she'd go that far. Tell Julie I'm sorry, Ramon said. Now, go huh? He checked himself, no doubt feeling the surge of energy. The vents lining his blade pumped out more black smoke. Purple flames erupted all over his body, exploding out of his wounds. What's happening? I'm going to focus my power on you. No. What about Lizzie? Dom said. Her armor crumbled, exposing the sorry state of her body. But I left her with her bladed gauntlet. Go. I urged Ramon. He nodded, gave Doms a hesitant look, then sprinted off to fight Stella. Doms grabbed my arm. You can't do this. Don't leave my baby to die. No amount of healing can help if you rip that thing from inside her brain, I said truthfully. Remember that I couldn't save Paolo's dad. This is way worse. She'll become a full monster soon. Is it because I was going to leave you? I'm really sorry for that. That's not it. There's a way to save her. However. What is it? I'll do anything. I'll give my life for her. I nodded. Huh? Your life? You mean to say you can save her with my life? Yes, but. I'll do it, she said. I'm going to kill that thing inside of my baby, and you give her my life force or whatever. Are you sure? Yes. She already made an incision at the base of Lizzie's head. Baby, be brave, she said to her unconscious daughter. You'll be fine. Thick black liquid seeped out, almost like tar. Tiny tentacles that looked like clumps of spaghetti burst out of the wound, widening it. Dom stabbed and pulled them out. I stared with morbid fascination. There was a phase in high school where it became a trend to watch gross medical operations on the internet, just like popping massive pus-filled boils or pulling out gigantic splinters. This reminded me of that time. But this topped all of those videos combined. Fortunately, I didn't have a stomach or I would certainly be puking right now. Doms kept on repeating, be brave, to Lizzie as she extracted the parasite. It wasn't going down without a fight. The parasite was in survival mode, eating the body around it to evolve itself, ready to abandon its host. The tentacles grew and Doms cut them down. Lizzie's green color was fading. Just a bit more, I said. I didn't mention that Lizzie was also dying, Doms already knew that. Continue what you're doing. I'll prepare for it now. I connected the finger that exchanges life force to Doms and Lizzie. I had only used it once, when I forced some dude to give his life to completely heal Caesar by threatening to kill his girlfriend. I was surprised that the guy agreed. I didn't like this finger because I couldn't relate to its use. There was no way I'd willingly give my life for others the requirement of this power. Maybe, Spooky Errand added this power to make me uncomfortable. Just like it was normal to be bothered by something we couldn't understand, I was bothered by this. Which was weird. I normally didn't care for other people's decisions. But there was just something I couldn't accept with sacrificing your own life for others. It's dead, I said. Pino, Doms cradled Lizzie. She was shriveled, the parasite having eaten a large chunk of her flesh to try and save itself. They were surrounded by a pool of black blood and mounds of tentacles that you wouldn't expect to have come out of Lizzie's small body. Please. Say your goodbye and close your eyes. I love you, Lizzie. We'll meet again someday. Lizzie feebly stirred. Mommy and Daddy will look over you. I'm going to do it now. Your daughter will live, I promise. Promise me too that you'll take care of her. Pino. I will, I said, despite of myself. I was hero Pino until the end. Doms closed her eyes and I transferred her life to her daughter just before her green color completely became gray. I stared at Dom's lifeless body next to my feet. Her fully recovered daughter, blanketed by a shade of bright green, laid unconscious on top of her, continuing their last embrace. Lizzie hadn't woken up yet. She had small horns, patches of beautiful purple scales. The black blood seemed to slide right off her white hair that had grown as long as her body. I don't know what will happen to you, I said. I may have promised Doms to care of her, but that was as Pino. And Pino was going to disappear soon. My eyes swept the room, taking in the scene of the riot of abominable monsters, once my fellow residents whom I didn't feel any shred of connection with, tearing each other apart as they fought over the tasty banquet that was the last remaining grunts of Stella. Those men hastily built a mini fort with tables and machines at the right side of the room by the bar. They desperately fought back, but for every monster they gunned down, 2 more would jump at them, and the monster they shot would also get up, the parasite taking over its body. Those 2 dicks, Finley and Calder, were nowhere to be found. I was sure I hadn't seen the last of them. The tall windows were shattered by the fight of Paolo and Ramon against Stella. Ramon getting a power-up finally forced Stella to use her powers. Most of her clothes were torn or burned away, revealing her skin that was becoming the color and texture of a gargoyle's. Her muscles were abnormally defined, as if she was a sculpture of an extremely ripped woman with no skin. Ramon, even with his enhanced strength, couldn't press his advantage because Stella was using Paolo's body as a shield. She caught him with a kick that slammed him against the massive vine covering the balcony. Okay. Stella said. That was fun. But we need to wrap this up now. Who's still alive? The twins? She spotted me. Oh ho. You didn't run away. I had a hunch you didn't have any combat capabilities or you would have joined the fight by now. I remained silent as I stared at my hands. They were beginning to fade. What are you going to do now? I shrugged. There was nothing I could do anymore. My time was up. Saving Lizzie using the life force of Doms looked like as good of an ending as I could hope for my Pino face. Tragic, but still uplifting, with tones of self-sacrifice and bravery, not on my part though. Still, Lizzie was going to die here, and so would Ramon and Paolo. If she somehow survived, the bid would capture her and most likely kill her. I looked up at the ceiling. The chandeliers above were beautiful. There was an uneasy disappointment in my heart. Ending it like this was unsatisfying. At least I should say a cool line before I go. In answer to my question, a large pillar broke out of the floor, growing upwards. Then, the door behind me banged open, the heavy wooden panels knocked off their hinges. Brand new shit was going down, and I wasn't staying around for this. The tree monster bounded forward then through a box toward Stella. I was able to get a good glimpse of the monster's wide back. It carried 3 people wrapped in tendrils and vines like they were its backpack. One was Julie, next to her was a familiar-looking guy, and the last person was my body. Why is that here? Julie Conti pressed herself into the corner, the warm body of Aaron to her left, the cold wall to her back, and a rusty filing cabinet to her right. Her palms sweated as she tightly clutched her gun, her finger stiff by the trigger. She wanted to shoot the attacking monsters but she might hit her self-proclaimed rescuers in this cramped space. A towering tree creature, its crown of barbs scraping the ceiling, protected them, sweeping the monsters with its trunk-like arms covered with spikes and blades. Julie knew there was a woman named Barb inside the huge body made of bark. She briefly revealed herself before the monsters came. The story that she wasn't an Adumbri, and that she and this other guy were Aaron's friends, sounded far-fetched. Julie, however, didn't have any choice but to believe them. The monsters came in droves. Barb mowed down all of them. Julie wanted to close her eyes, cover her ears, and scream as loud as she could to drown out the shrieks, snarls, and roars. The smell of the black blood from the shredded monsters was too much. Even breathing through her mouth didn't help. But she pushed back her anxiety. As Barb effortlessly killed one monster after another, hope surged in her heart despite the uncertain situation. These people might be able to save her brother. "I'm out of bullets," shouted Johann, the one who introduced himself as an undercover cop. He even showed her his badge. But why was he working with the mysterious Barb? "Why bother," said Decano, the head and torso with missing augmented limbs. Julie wasn't clear on his story either. From their conversations, it sounded like he was with those twin at Dunbury that attacked them. But why was he with these two now, the supposed friends of Erend? Julie couldn't let her guard down and trust them completely. He said, "Your puny pistol isn't helping at all. It's your tree friend here doing all the heavy lifting for you. For all of us. We're dead without her. Augs are the key. You can't be just a normal human running around in this world. Do you have anything that can help us then? Where are your combat augs?" "No," Finley pulled them out. "Then shut the hell up," Barb interjected, her voice distorted by all the bark covering her face. "They're thinning now. I'm pushing out before the next wave comes." "Or that giant," Johann said. Judy, you get Erend. I'm carrying this useless sack." "I'm helping you guys get out of here," Decano said as Johann secured his body with frayed wiring, carrying him like a backpack. "Some gratitude would be nice." "It's Julie," she said, not sure if they heard her. She pushed the cart over the dead monsters. Thankfully, Erend wasn't heavy. She felt like she was going to vomit just seeing the corpses, but she had to look down or she might slip. "Coast is clear," said Barb, checking both sides of the hallway. Then she stooped down and cut the ropes tying Erend to the cart. "What are you doing?" Julie demanded. Barb touched the end of her gun and gently pushed it aside. She didn't realize she unconsciously raised her weapon. Sorry. Don't worry. Just taking a page out of Johann's book. I think it's easier if I carry Erend on my back. We can move faster." Sure. My sensors are detecting unnatural vibrations," Decano said. "The giant is coming. You should feel the shaking soon." "Are you really sure it can get us out of here?" Johann said. "Don't bullshit us. Remember, we saved your life." "Yeah, I know our deal. I'm 90, maybe 95% certain the giant is strong enough to tear through the vines outside. Such an interesting specimen. If not it, then Bob. 100% Bob can do it. Luring those two at the same time was unnecessary. You just need to trick one of them into destroying the vines." "They were already fighting each other," Barb said. "Might as well bring both of them along." "More monsters showing on my biosensors," Decano said. "Most below us, but 3 are coming up the stairs to the left." Julie could hear them too if she concentrated hard enough. "You're attracting too many of them with the XR field generator," he said, "especially with it at max." She glanced at the box Decano was talking about. It looked like the same metal box they got from the armed men they met in the elevator. It might be the same actual box. "The more the merrier," Barb said. "Sure, whatever you guys want. Just bring me to Stella, and keep those monsters chasing your ass, especially the giant, away from our side. Then it's a truce." "Put him down, Johann." "Decano. Why? Are we fighting here? Shouldn't we continue running since we're near?" "Put him down. What are you doing?" "We should go now," Julie said. She wanted them to hurry up, not just because monsters were coming, but so that they could reach Paolo sooner. "I guess this is where we part ways," Johann said. "Yes," Barb replied. "Look, there's one monster over there," Julie said. Are we really leaving him here? Honor? Johann scoffed. That's rich coming from you. We'll be the ones going to Stella, Barb said. I helped you get errand. I told you the way to escape. Did you seriously expect us to let you live after seeing our faces? Wow, I sound like I'm the bad guy. Barb chuckled. I'm sure you're planning to kill us too once you're reunited with Stella. Ungrateful little shits. You're all dead when they find out what you did to me. Come back here, and I may just forgive you. Judy, let's go, Barb said. A large vine grew out of her back and coiled around Erend, picking her up and attaching her to her back. You can't just leave me here to die. Julie shuffled her feet after Barb. Are we? Come on, she said. Julie hesitantly looked over her shoulder at the helpless Decano lying on the floor. He shouted curses at them, his saliva flying everywhere. His bionic eyes seemed to bore right through Julie's heart. She was glad he had those instead of normal human eyes so she couldn't see the despair in them. He's the enemy, she reminded herself. He was part of the reason people in this building turned into monsters. More and more monsters arrived. They crawled all over Decano. He couldn't do anything except scream for help. Barb paused for a couple of seconds. Julie thought they were going back to help him. But they didn't. They just watched as he was torn apart and eaten. He deserves it, Barb said, more to herself than to them. Yes, Julie half-heartedly agreed. She couldn't bring herself to be angry at him. After all, this was the first time she had seen him. The monsters spotted them. The conference room is this way, she said, running ahead. She should focus on getting the help to her brother. Oh what? A thick tendril wrapped around her waist. I'll carry you too, Barb said, putting her beside Erend. She also grabbed Johann, placing him on the other side of Erend. Much faster. Ah. I can't see the way, Julie said. Just tell me the directions. She tried to reorient herself and remember the way while facing backwards. Is this it? You took the wrong turn. Go back. The building's quaking, Johann observed. Or is that just you, Barb? Left, right. You're right, not mine. Sorry, I'm getting confused. Something burst out of the wall. What were these? Fingers. Johann said, answering the question in her mind. It was the fingers of the giant monster, trying to enclose them. No, you don't. Barb swatted a couple of the fingers away and evaded before they were caught. Julie saw the giant's hand crushing the floor where they were a few moments ago. The walls blackened upon contact with the giant's smoldering charcoal skin. Julie yelped in surprise as Barb smashed through a side room, went out the opposite wall, and circled back to the correct path. Wow, that was close. Are you okay, Judy? Yes, she answered Johann. I'm fine. And it's Julie. Where next? Barb called out. Julie glanced at the sign they just passed. Turn into the wide hallway with red carpeting. Barb followed her instructions. Then just straight. It's the large room at the end. Got it. Barb suddenly paused. What's wrong? Johann said. Bob's stupid pillar is blocking the way. I'll go around. Oh, it's going back down. Both of them are here now. What's your plan? You didn't explain it earlier since Decano was with us. I'm going to bring everyone inside that room where Stella is. Wait, what? The giant, Bob, all the monsters behind us. Are you going to just charge inside? That's not. We lead the monsters to Stella, then hope that either the giant or Bob open a way for us. That's not a plan. And you didn't answer my question. You're just charging in. Can you save my brother too, please? You promised me you would. Yes to both your questions. Here we go. You're insane. Julie felt Barb accelerate. She was jolted each time Barb's feet hit the ground. Then they cleared a huge hole made by the one they called Bob, whoever he was. In the brief moment she looked down, she saw many monsters below climbing up. There was also flames and smoke in the lower floors. She recalled Johann said Finley disabled the fire system of the building. She was worried for Vince, his son, and Samantha, hiding in a room somewhere, unaware there was widespread fire. Some monsters also showed up behind them, rounding the corner, probably looking for the metal box. She wanted to try shooting them, but the world was shaking so much. Brace yourselves. Barb giddily called out. You're really insane. Johann repeated. We're going in. Bam. Julie closed her eyes and held her arms over her head. She instinctively tried to use the gun as cover and hit Aaron's head with its butt. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Watch it, Johann snapped at her. Eat this shit, Stella. Barb yelled, throwing something far into the room, presumably the metal box. Julie couldn't see what was happening. She only had a view of the corridor leading to the room. Monsters amassed, many emerged out of the hole from the lower floors. They attacked and ate each other, but several were making their way to the conference room too. Why is that here? Someone exclaimed in a voice with a robotic tinge. Pino. Julie said. Where is Pow what? One moment Pino was there, and the next she wasn't. Julie was certain it was her. How could anyone miss a metal woman? Where did you? Huh? Doms. Doms was on the floor, laying on a pool of black blood. A kid was on top of her. This child had white hair, purple scales covering parts of her arm. A monster. Doms. No. Julie fumbled with her gun, her arms shook as she tried to steady her aim. Should she shoot? She might hit Doms instead. But she just couldn't watch her get eaten by this creature. Get off of her, you monster. Bang! The marble floor a couple of feet away from Doms shattered. Julie turned to her left. What the? Don't shoot. It was Aaron. She had awoken. She pushed away Julie's gun, making her miss. But that's a monster. Lizzie, ow, my head hurts. Spinning. Aaron, said Johann from the other side. Myra Barb. Aaron's awake. She's alive. Barb didn't answer him. She was busy talking to Stella. Let go of my gun. Julie didn't have the strength to pull it from Aaron's grip. I have to shoot the monster. That's Lizzie. That's Lizzie, she softly repeated. The clothes of the small monster, even if soaked in the vile black blood, indeed looked familiar. What happened? How did you know? Too long to explain, Aaron said. Myra. The monsters are coming. Incoming. Incoming. Johann said, rapping his knuckles on Barb's bark to get her attention. Move out of the way, they want that box. Who is this? A voice thundered. Paolo. Was that Ramon? Julie asked. Ramon. Ramon, she frantically called. What happened to Pow? She craned her neck as Barb turned to move to the side. Pow. Where are you? Myra, those two on the floor, Aaron said. Get them too. Barb stretched out an arm, growing dozens of vines, and lassoed Doms and Lizzie, pulling them to safety with them, just in time before the monsters outside stampeded in. She carried all of them to the corner of the room, and positioned herself to protect them, growing more vines to make a wall. Everyone just stay here. I'm waiting for an opening. Where is Aaron? Said the voice that sounded unnaturally amplified. Calder. Are you playing tricks on me? Let him go. That was definitely Ramon. Something bad has happened to Paolo. Did you switch her with this dead guy? Dead guy? Julie's heart sunk to her stomach. Please don't let it be my brother. I need to see Paulo. She had a hard time talking, valiantly keeping back the tears. She tried to get out of the tendril holding her. Turn around again. Barb. Or put me down. Barb, put me down. The vine loosened and she dropped to the ground. What's happening? She asked. I can't see. The monsters are attacking Stella, Barb replied. Paulo. Where are you? Julie peeked through a small gap between the vines that weaved together to form a barricade. The tide of monsters attacked a moving 12-foot-tall statue of a heavily muscled woman. This should be Stella. She looked like those anatomy models in science class, the ones that showed the muscles of the human body, but with the color and texture of concrete. Her eyes glowed a blinding white light. In her right hand, she gripped a bloody limp body. Ramon. Julie called out when she saw him climb up Stella's arm. Then it dawned to her. Is that Paulo? Save him. Stella was distracted with the monsters trying to bring her down. She opened her mouth. A burst of light came out, the same color as her eyes, and fried the creatures clinging to her legs. Pesky little shits. That's Stella's power. Erend was beside Julie, also trying to see what was happening on the other side of the vine shield. Myra, Barb, whatever, I don't think we can take her on. We should go. Chill out, Erend, Barb said. Our gift to Stella is still coming. What gift? There it is. A huge hand burst out of the floor. It was the giant. It grabbed Stella. She blasted it with the light from her mouth, taking chunks off its arm, but it didn't release her. Ramon took that chance to free Paulo from Stella's grasp. Both of them fell into the horde of rampaging monsters. I'm going to kill all of you. No. Don't go out there, Johann said, pulling Julie back down as she tried to climb up the vines. Do you have a death wish? I need to save Pau. Please. Anyone, please help him. Ramon will save Paulo, Erend said. Trust him. How do you know both of them? There he is. Ramon emerged out of the crowd of monsters. He was carrying a body on his shoulder while hacking the monsters with his blade arm like he was forging a path through thick brush with a machete. That monster guy is coming to us, Barb said. Is he a friend? Yes. Julie said. She pushed Erend aside to get a better view through the gap. His name is Ramon. And that's Paulo, my brother, he has with him. Got it, Barb said. I'm going to whack the monsters following them. She stood up, leaving a large gap in the wall of vines. Yow. Come here. Ramon was surprised by a tree monster talking to him. Then he saw Julie waving at him and understood. Behind him, the head and upper body of the charcoal giant followed its hand, widening the hole on the floor. Several monsters fell down. A huge pillar was pushing the giant up. The giant roared, showering the room with glowing embers. Bob? Is that you? What is this you brought with you? This is getting dangerous, Erend said. She had her hand over her face. Her expression was conflicted. Barb bounded forward. She ran past Ramon and planted herself in front of the monsters chasing them. Ramon carried Paulo through the gap in the wall, delivering him to Julie. Oh my God! Paulo! Julie held his head and put it on her lap. His body was badly mangled, barely recognizable from all of the injuries. Where is Pino? Ramon said. We need her to heal him. I don't know. She disappeared. Huh? What do you mean, Erend? Ramon jerked back in surprise. You're alive. Why would I be dead, she said. She examined Paulo. He's not breathing. Oh no. Pino, where are you? Julie hysterically looked around. What happened to Doms? Ramon said. Is this Lizzie? What's going on? I don't know. I don't know. She cried as she tried to see where Pino could have gone. There were too many things going on in the large room that Pino could be deep in the sea of monsters, or she could have fallen to the floors below through the hole and no one would have noticed. Stella growing non-stop, trying to match the charcoal giant in size. Another person also joined the fight, a freakishly large man carrying an even bigger pillar, but tiny compared to the two huge monsters fighting. The charcoal giant spewed fire up at the ceiling. Tongues of fire rained down. Barb rushed back to cover them. Julie didn't care for any of that. Pino, where's Pino? She could barely see anything, tears flooding her eyes. Hiccups overcame her, she couldn't speak straight anymore. Her hands grew cold, her chest tightened. She slowly realized there was nothing she could do. No. 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 It was as if the sounds of all the fighting, of all the monsters, of the building collapsing, everything was muted. She tuned everything out as she stared down at her brother's face. They weren't close or anything like that. He did his guy thing, she did her girl thing. It was normal. Siblings didn't go all up in each other's business, especially at their age. I didn't know much about him. His friends. The name of his band's songs, she didn't even know the name of his band. She always put her headphones on whenever he practiced with his instruments. She hadn't met any of the girls he dated, she only heard about them after they broke up. At least his favorite food was its still shepherd's pie. She pried his eyes open, knowing that wouldn't do anything. Her brother gazed at nothingness with glazed eyes. She just knew Paolo was gone. All alone. Mom, Dad, now Paolo. They all left her all alone. Maybe she should just stay here with Paolo's body and wait for the end too. She didn't know what else to do. She bent down to hug his head. I'm just going to stay here like this. And wait for everything to end. She closed her eyes. Someone grabbed her arm and pulled her up. We need to go. Aaron yelled at her face. Huh, she answered in a daze. Stella destroyed part of the vine wall. Get up now. Come, follow me. Barb flung Johann over her shoulder and ran the length of the wall of the room, sticking to the side as much as possible, plowing through stacked tables and chairs, shoving heavy machinery aside. She was carrying the unconscious Lizzie and Doms on her back. I'll carry Paolo, Ramon said. Julie replied. She's in shock. Go. Aaron said. I'll bring her. She put one arm under Julie's leg, her other arm holding her back, and ran after Barb. Their voices were faint. Julie stared at the high ceiling. It was burning. The flames reflecting gracefully off the intricate glass chandeliers. Streams of fire shot forth everywhere, crisscrossing with beams of light. Beautiful. Where do you think you're going? Shit, Stella saw us. Be careful, she'll shoot to the left. Damn it, we nearly got hit. Julie wondered. The burning ceiling was replaced with a dark blanket peppered with glowing things. Stars. Oh, we're outside. It was a clear night sky. Beautiful. I hope Paolo can see this. Where are we going next? Barb, stop. That's the end of the balcony. We're jumping, where else are we going? There's a pool below. Hurry up, Stella is following us. Gather round everyone. Quickly. I'm going to cover us with my bark. Come back here. The beautiful sky turned into absolute darkness. This was also good too, Julie thought. Dark meant time for bed. She just wished everyone else would quiet down now. I'm going to sleep. Maybe tomorrow I'll ask Paolo the name of his band. And away we go. And away we go. Yeah, she cheerily replied, her voice echoing inside our pod. My vines are pulling us over the ledge now. You're crazy, said Johann. The pool is below us. Water is just as hard as the ground from this height, I said as I hugged Julie. How do I make sure she survived the impact? I wanted to save her to make up for being unable to save her brother. That loss for my Pinot face bothered me enough that I dismissed thoughts of letting her die to have one less witness. Am I going to survive this? My inhuman body probably would. But a stroke of misfortune, a broken neck or something, could end me. I curled up more, keeping my neck muscles flexed, hugging Julie tighter. Or should I relax? I heard drunk guys could survive a fall because of loose muscles. Or was that an urban myth? Don't worry, I have a plan. I said, your plan better be wah. I couldn't see anything but I felt we were falling. Falling fast. Ah. Johann agreed. We're going to die. Myra laughed at him. You're being such a baby. We're fine. I'm just a normal guy. I'm going to die. Aren't we falling for too long? I thought after a few seconds. Continued Johann. It felt like riding a plane as it was about to land, anticipating when it would make contact with the ground. I played this game plenty of times when I was a kid since we moved a lot. It always landed when I least expect and we hit water. My head bumped against the side of the vines while Julie's head hit my jaw. Ow. I bit my tongue. Are we down? Whoa. Our pod bounced up a bit as it rebounded out of water, reshuffling our positions inside. Huh. Was that it? Johann said. See, that wasn't so bad, Myra said. Johann heaved a deep sigh of relief. I can't believe we're alive. I thought it was going to be so much worse, I said, pushing someone's leg off my face. Water leaked through the gaps of our pod. The vines unraveled and more water poured in. I made sure Julie's face was above water. She was still unresponsive, mumbling nonsense shit. With the light coming in, I realized it was Dom's corpse and the unconscious Lizzie beside me. I totally forgot about her because I legit didn't know what to do with her. Oops. Fortunately, Ramon was taking care of her. I streamlined this pod into a teardrop shape, Myra explained, to smoothly dive into the water instead of crashing into it. The outer shell of this pod is also made of weaker vines which collapsed upon impact. She swam through the mass of floating dried vines and branches to get to the side of the pool. I already thought of everything, she said matter-of-factly. Sometimes I worry you forget normal humans are pretty squishy, he mumbled. I'm not going to let you die. You know that. Watch out. Ramon said. Fwoom. I closed my eyes as bright light painted the night white. An explosion followed. Waves pushed us to the edge of the pool. What's happening? I said. My ears were ringing. Stella shot at us. From that far away. Swim, guys. Swim faster. Hands grabbed my arms and bodily pulled me out of the water. I blinked away the glaring haziness in my eyesight. It was Myra in her sports bra and cycling shorts. She must be pretty tired right now if she couldn't make any armor. She plopped me on the tiles. We already have Julie. Come on. All of us with the dead bodies. I don't know why we're still carrying Doms and Paolo made our way to the bar restaurant at the side of the pool. I noticed the lights were turned off, as in all of them. The underwater lights of the pool, the lamp posts lining the walkways, the lights of the restaurant, everything was off. Where is the light coming from? I wondered as I looked up. The building itself was still mostly dark, the mysterious thick vines stifling any light from the windows. But huge tracts of the vine wall burned. Flames also billowed out of the balcony we fell from, framing Stella's gigantic form gazing down at us with searchlight-like eyes. It looked like a castle of a dark lord straight out of a fantasy book. I guess, that's it for my room and belongings. Run. Stella's shooting again. Fwoom. Her light beam thingy hit the pool. Myra. Johann called out, dropping all pretense of using their codenames. Shit, that hurts, she said. Are you okay? Just stay there. She entered the restaurant and closed the door behind her to stop the steam coming from the boiled-up pool. Hurts like hell, man. I feel like a lobster getting cooked. She was red all over, patches of her skin were peeling. Then she noticed the windows were shattered by the shockwave of the blast. In. Further inside. Don't let the steam hit you. Where to? Ramon said. She's going to shoot again. Come, we go to the back of the property. I lugged Julie like a sack of potatoes and ran to the other end of the L-shaped restaurant. It led to the garden. Footsteps followed me. Sleep so noisy going to see Pow tomorrow, Julie murmured. I ran sideways and smashed through the glass doors with my head and shoulders. We exited to the outside dining area covered by a canopy of exotic leaves. It was still super dark, the light from the burning building barely making it through the leaves overhead. Past the garden, over walls and out to the street, I said. I can see the walls, Ramon said. Is that red and blue lights on the other side? Johann. Sirens too. I dragged a tablecloth we passed and draped it over Julie and me. We need to hide our identities. Way ahead of you, Myra said as she caught up with me. Her head was covered by a helmet. I can only manage this. There was another explosion. We all instinctively ducked. But there was no shower of debris or even a shockwave. Where did that hit? I asked. I think it's on the other side of the pool, Ramon said. She missed so bad. Bodhi, I mean the fire giant. It's trying to pull her back in the building. I briefly glanced upwards. Stella was shooting wildly, hitting the wings of the building. The balcony gave way, boulder-sized debris falling down. The two giants clung to the sides of the building. I faced forward just as I went inside a hedge. Gross, I said, spitting out leaves. We're so near. From knowledge of this area. We turned into a street full of mid-size buildings and trees, and hugged the sidewalk. Yet another beam destroyed a group of buildings ahead of us. Why the hell is she so strong? She doesn't know where we are. She's just destroying everything around here. Just keep running. We all felt another quake. That could only mean one thing. Stella dropped down, I said. She can't see or shoot us for sure. Let's find a place to hide before she comes here. There were continuous shaking and explosions. Stella was probably running and shooting at the same time. We couldn't see her because of the trees around us. We eventually broke into an empty rundown pub. Let's go up, Myra said, so we can see where she is. The second floor was a dusty storage room full of crates and broken furniture, but it did have windows. Okay, we can all rest for a bit. Now what? Ramon asked. Johann turned a bar stool around and sat on it. Stella's destroying buildings looking for us. I'm sure she's well aware she has time before anything that could take her down gets here. If BID Central Command is alerted just now that a Titan-class Adumbri is wrecking La Esperanza, we can expect their first responders to arrive in about 15 minutes. The agents and comexos that can fight a Titan-class will arrive probably 5 to 10 minutes after that. Can the BID kill her? Ramon said. Certainly. BID nodes have enough firepower to combat these kinds of threats. The nearest BID node is at Palomar Mountain, and they have a huge base over there. After about, at most, 10 minutes of trying to find us, Stella has to give up and escape. 10 minutes. Ramon said. Can't anyone else stop her? How about the National Guard? Johann shook his head. Neither the National Guard at San Domingo or the Air Force Base at the outskirts of the city is equipped for suppression of a Titan class in an urban setting without incurring significant casualties. At any rate, the bid will arrive here before the National Guard. Stella will be long gone by then. We can't just sit here and wait. That's exactly what we're going to do, Myra said. 10 minutes isn't so long. Just sit on your ass. I'm keeping an eye on her. We'll move if she goes this way. Many more people are going to die in 10 minutes. What do you suggest we do? She said. Go out there and fight her. We barely escaped with our lives. But we can't just let people die. Don't think of doing something stupid like using yourself as bait. I'm going to stop. Myra, Johann cut in. Let me. He approached Ramon and put his hand on his shoulder. I know you want to try and help others. Believe me, we want that too. But not at the cost of our own lives. You, especially, shouldn't carelessly expose yourself. Not just because Stella will kill you, but the police or BID might catch you and kill you because you're Because I'm a monster. Ramon said. I look like an adumbry. I wouldn't put it like that. No need to sugarcoat it. There's a small part of me who still hopes this is all a nightmare and I'm going to wake up, but I've accepted this is all real. This is me now. A monster. But it doesn't mean I'm going to stay here and achieve nothing. If you go out there, I said, you'll also achieve nothing. Except dying. Errand, he faced me, but then immediately turned away. Doms is dead. Paolo is also, he didn't continue, concerned Julie might get angry. The others, Samantha, Vince, his son, they're all probably dead too. You don't know them. But yeah, the people I'm supposed to save died. In the end, I've really done nothing. I understand, I said. Well, not exactly. He felt guilt and remorse, while I was annoyed for losing the people I aimed to save. But hey, I was going to stop him from suiciding himself out there. This should count for something. I know what you're thinking right now. You want to find meaning in your misfortune. You want to save people before getting yourself killed so your death will mean something. His eyes widened. No, I don't. That's not what I'm planning to do. We're friends, right? No, I thought. We're not close, but we've talked, so I can guess what you're thinking. I am not. I held his right hand, I obviously couldn't hold his blade arm. Don't do this. You might look like this now, but don't give up on life. But what is my future as this? As a monster? To be honest, I don't know. We can think about that later. What's important now is you don't get captured by the BID. You and Lizzie. I was sure I could make use of the two of them. Don't get killed, even if not for yourself, but for Lizzie's sake. She lost her family, Ramon said. And has become like me, a monster. I can be her family. I hope he's not thinking some gross shit like we'll be mother and father for Lizzie. We should get to our base first, and then we can think about our plans in safety. We do have plenty to talk about, Myra said. I'll explain what I know of this situation later, I said, the little that I know anyway. I needed to buy time to think of bullshit stories to sell to Myra and Johann. I already have a working draft for a dramatic script in my head. Where are the others? I wanted to give a fake story to Myra and Johann and convince them to keep it a secret from the rest of the group. It was easier to manage my lies that way. I'm not sure where blank is. MC went to get Dean. Oberon is heading there too. Dean. Why? Was she attacked too? Yes. But she already escaped them. Her powers are very handy. She can take care of herself. Can't we check up on them? I said as Dean's absolute best friend forever. The city might have shut down the signal again, Myra said. I can't call them anyway. She gestured to her body, Her clothes obviously had no pocket for a phone. I also don't have a phone with me, I said. Johan. The city won't do that, he said as he got his phone from his pocket. They'll be prioritizing evacuations and rescue. He held up his phone and shook it. Droplets of water fell. But I need to buy a new phone. My phone. Julie suddenly exclaimed, making us all jump. She searched her pockets, almost ripping her clothes. My phone. Paolo said to take care of it. She managed to find it. It's working, thank God. She sobbed as she rubbed it against her cheeks. Is she okay? Myra asked. She was protective of that phone because it had a recording of the last message of their father. I remembered Paolo told her to protect it since they couldn't upload it to the internet for safekeeping because of the vines jamming the signal. Of course, I didn't tell the others about this story. Something, however, was gnawing at the back of my head. Internet phone has a camera. Anyway, Myra said, as much as I'd love to kill Stella, that's not happening. Let's just wait a bit more and I'm sure she'll stop. Hang on. What is it? She's coming this way. She's destroying all the buildings in her way. We need to get out of here. Internet camera. Okay, Ramon, you got Paolo, Myra said. Erend will carry Julie. I carry this kid. Or do you want to carry her? We can swap. Then we bust down this wall to go to the next building. We avoid running out on the street. Erend. I held up my hand. You guys want to kill Stella, right? Yeah, but I got a plan. It's got a low chance of working, but I'm sure we can kill Stella if it does work. I wonder if Clive is awake at this time. Now, are you going to tell us your plan? Myra said. Just a sec. I fiddled with Julie's snippet account, trying to figure out how the hell to broadcast live. What do I? Let me, Myra said, taking the phone from my hands. We were on the rooftop of a 3-story building a few doors down from the pub, crouching behind the low walls lining its perimeter. We, being me, Myra, and Johan. Ramon was protecting Julie and Lizzie back in the pub. I wasn't sure if they left to find a better hiding place. It was better for us to split up mainly because our group would be running around and those 2 girls would only slow us down. Julie was especially being difficult. I had to convince her I was going to record more videos Paolo would like so she'd let go of her phone. I was this close to punching her to dreamland to get the phone. That, and Lizzie was waking up. Before we left, we restrained her with thick ropes we found just as a precaution. However, I was sure she retained her sanity even though she had a monster body. I also didn't want to be around when Ramon had to explain to her what happened, why her mommy was not there, why Paolo was dead, why Julie had gone cuckoo, and why she was a purple half-snake girl with white hair and horns. Tag team kinda. Here, Myra said. I also turned off the audio recording. Thanks. I didn't think of that. I focused the camera at the incoming Stella. In my estimate, she was just a tad shorter than the building we were on. Wow, did she grow a lot since she transformed, and was still growing. She punched and kicked small buildings like how a kid would destroy sand castles on the beach. As for the taller buildings, she swept her powerful light beam up and down their height, collapsing them. She forged a path, trailing fire and destruction in her wake. She headed in our general direction but hadn't noticed us. I broadcasted everything on Julie's snippet account. I think streaming was the right term, sorry, I suck at social media stuff. She had many snippet friends, and they shared it with others, quickly racking up the views. I'm just assuming that's how snippet worked. I hoped Clive was one of the gradually increasing view count at the bottom of the video. So, why are we putting ourselves in danger again? Myra said. There are people out there dumb enough to take pictures or videos of Stella instead of running away. We can just leave it to them. I need an uninterrupted live stream. I'm sure some of them are live streaming too. And there's also the news. I saw a newscopter earlier. Which had to go away because Stella was shooting at it, Johan said. But there should be TV news crews on the ground broadcasting this live. We have a better vantage point, I said. We're closer than any news crew will dare to shoot, and we can get even closer. I suppose so. Myra folded her arms. For what though? Let me guess, you're doing this so the bid knows her location. But they already know, Johan pointed out. Exactly, I said. And that's what we're going to capture on camera. We'll follow her until she turns human, and keep on live streaming her. Oh. That's a brilliant idea. The bid will know who they're looking for. Yep. We'll show the world this giant monster is this woman while also showing her location. That just might work, Johan said. If she's back to human form, special agents and comexos from the node aren't needed to kill her. The bid agents currently in the city should be able to take her down, assuming they're on their way here right now. Or just the police might be able to do it, he added. Okay, let's do that. Myra enthusiastically said, eager of the prospect of defeating Stella. Just don't forget, let's not put ourselves in harm's way. Speaking of harm's way, I said, I think we have to move because Stella's coming closer. It's best if we're parallel to her. Keep your head down, guys. Don't get seen. Of course, that wasn't my real plan. Not totally anyway, just half of it. I was hoping Clive, not the bid, would kill Stella. No way I was going to continue following her until the bid arrived. Too risky. But I knew I had to continue filming her until she got smaller. Although Clive could spear anything he saw, even if it was through a screen, I doubted he could do much to the gigantic ass of Stella. He wasn't able to kill the snake mutant I fought at Serenade Bazaar. Okay, that was mostly because I destroyed the TV camera, but he still had a few seconds before I did that. His spear would just be like a toothpick in comparison to Stella's size. But if Stella was human-sized, then he could certainly poke holes in her. This was all assuming Clive was watching my specific live stream out of all the other videos out there. And that he was willing or able to help. I recalled Trepanner scolded him for attacking the snake mutant because it wasn't their mission. I guess this is really a long shot. If nothing else, at least I'd show Stella's true identity to the world, for the bid would catch her afterwards. I fixed the tablecloth I wrapped around my head as we jumped from building to building. I didn't see any point in pretending to be a normal human anymore. Myra followed me while carrying Johan. I was sure both of them had many questions with my inhuman strength but didn't say anything. This seems like a good place, I said, kneeling behind sloping skylight panels on the roof of an office building based on what I could see through the glass. We'll just play the waiting game, Johan said, crouching next to me. Myra placed herself next to him. If she starts growing smaller, that's the time we go near. How about I leave you here? Myra asked Johan. It's much safer. I'm going with you. I'm making sure you don't do anything stupid. I know just how much you want to kill Stella. Fine, she said. If that's what you... Her eyes gazed up at something behind Johan and me. Myra? Johan asked. What is it? I turned around and followed Myra's gaze. Thanks to the uncontrolled fire courtesy of Stella, I could make out the silhouette of an imposingly large man looking down on us from the top of a water tank about 2 buildings further to our right. An enemy? Bob? Who is that? One of Stella's underlings, Johan said. We encountered him when we were looking for you. Gave us a lot of trouble. He doesn't have his pillar with him, she said. Pillar? He's the guy with the pillar that grows big? I'm sure Obe would find something funny with that, she said. I have to take care of this guy. She covered her body with thin armor, not the usual large tree monster body she used. Bob jumped down from the water tank to the next building and sprinted towards us. It seemed like he crawled out of rubble. Dust covered his body, almost obscuring his deep wounds and severe burns, his tattered clothes blackened by fire. Despite this, his expression was impassive. He leapt over the gap and landed on the rooftop we were on, by the far end of the skylight panels. "Oh no, you don't." Myra flung spikes at him, aiming for his head. He caught them, except one that pierced his eye. He roared in pain. With a running jump, he soared over the skylights, heading straight for us. Myra jumped even higher using springy vines on her feet. She caught him in the air and tackled him downwards. Both of them smashed through the skylight panels. "Myra!" Johann yelled, rushing to check what happened. "What the?" I said, barely processing anything. I glanced at Stella, saw that she didn't notice us, then went over to Johann. I peered down the broken glass. The building inside was mostly dark except for a few dim lights and the blazing glow of the fires coming in through its windows. The two of them landed on the fountain in the middle of the atrium 3 floors down. "You need to help her." "What?" "He nearly killed Myra when they fought. She might really die this time." "I can't, I'm a Corbring like Julie said. An Adumbri? I don't care what you really are. I just know you can help her." "What should I do?" "I could just let Myra die now. But it wouldn't be very impactful or satisfying. I do love theatrics. And Myra's time to die wasn't now. I was sure she'd be very helpful as I navigated the world of Adumbrine Corbrings, especially if she owed me her life. Plus, I just thought of the best story to sell to her." "Give me the phone," Johann said. "I'll video Stella." I kicked away the remaining shards of glass then hung by the edge of the opening on the rooftop. I swung myself back and forth, hoping this would work, and let go. I soared and grabbed the 3rd floor railings. "I still got it," I cheered as I pulled myself over. Maybe I should do yoga and calisthenics regularly again just like my cheerleading days. There was a lot I could do now with my superhuman body. I looked around for anything to throw and spotted the fire extinguisher. "Myra!" I called down below. "Up here. Climb up here." She was trying to keep out of Bob's reach while throwing spikes at him. I got the impression she didn't want to get near him again. She saw me waving at her and started to scale the walls with the help of her spikes. Bob, full of spikes like a pin cushion, chased after her. "Take this," I said, throwing down the fire extinguisher as hard as I could. It hit him in the head, knocking him down. "Yes." He quickly got back up. "Ah." I grabbed the painting behind me and threw it at him, followed by 2 large vases, and the long table they were on. That was enough to stop him from climbing up after Myra. I extended my hand to her and pulled her up. He roared at us in frustration and started to climb up again. "Thanks for the assist," Myra said. "Appreciate it." "Where's Johann?" Nothing happened. Myra stopped running. I opened my eyes and looked up at her. Her eyes were wide open, her mouth gaping in amazement. I turned to the left and saw the towering Stella. She was so near, just over the next block. A gigantic sword wrapped with blue lightning snakes protruded out of her chest, exiting at a sideways, slightly downward angle. The sword was as long as a small school bus. It crackled with power, making the hairs on my skin stand on end even if I was from it. Lightning erupted from the blade, taking the form of snakes swimming through the air in a mesmerizing dance, driving away the darkness of the night with their blue light, swallowing the red glow of the fire. The silver blade gave off ghostly wisps that spread like dense fog. Stella shrieked as the blade kept on growing out of her chest. My eyes adjusted to the brightness and I noticed the intricate serpentine carvings on the blade that mirrored the lightning snakes around it. The carvings themselves appeared to move, they also looked familiar. As the blade extended, it revealed its base and that it was attached to a pole. It was a spear, not a sword. An impossibly big spear had made its blade look like a colossal broadsword in comparison to Stella. Clive. It had to be him. Stella grasped the spear to break it, but her hand disintegrated upon contact with the blade. Liquid light poured from the stumps of her arms and from her chest like it was her blood. They also streamed down her eyes and mouth. "The corb rings," Myra said. "They're here." Stella tried to turn around, but the spear held her in place even though it was just growing out of her chest and not anchored to anything. The same thing also happened to me when Clive speared me. She managed to crane her head enough that she was able to face in the opposite direction where the spear pointed to. What was over there? The building with skylights. What is she doing? She's aiming for Johann. A massive beam of light shot out of Stella's mouth. It hit Johann's building. The giant spear dissipated, the darkness of the night returned, barely held at bay by the red blaze of the fires. No. Johann. Bob. That annoying Bob decided to chase after us. "You bastard," Myra said. "Just don't know when to give up." She threw me aside as Bob lunged for her. "Save Johann," she cried out. Both of them tangled with each other and tumbled into the gap between buildings, falling to the ground below. I picked myself up. Having mostly recovered from Bob's screams, and headed to Johann's direction. Stella was on her knees, a fountain of liquid light gushing from the massive hole on her chest. Was she going to die soon? Or was she going to transform back to human? She did neither. Instead, she blasted the buildings around her, including the one I stood on. The rooftop shook as her light beam strafed the lower floors. I jumped to the next building, shooing away a flock of seagulls in my way that got spooked by the buildings getting demolished. I needed to get to Johann to know if he was still alive and get the camera so Clive could finish Stella off. I wasn't even sure if the phone was still in one piece. Was there no other video he could watch? Stella opened her mouth. I turned left, heading to the side of the rooftop. Hopefully, I could drop down and the building would offer some protection. The night suddenly turned bright once again as the sword shot forth from the back of Stella's head. "Clive?" "Yes." I celebrated. Stella shot her light beam as her last act before her death. "No." I yelled as I scrambled to jump down the building. And the world exploded. How long was I out? Was the first thing on my mind. Unfortunately, I didn't have the answer to that. Feelings of déjà vu nagged me. The next question was, where am I? Darkness. My eyes are open, right? I blinked a few times to check. I was concerned I hit my head so hard and became blind. There was a tiny sliver of light that wiggled through the minuscule gap in the rubble. Very faint, but it confirmed I could see. Rubble? The building collapsed, I groaned in realization. And I was buried alive. Just keep calm, I told myself. This was the second time this happened to me, I should get used to this. Although I might be in a worse state than the time I escaped the cave-in caused by the bid agents. I couldn't feel my right leg. After a couple of tugs, I sighed in relief that it wasn't cut off, it was just pinned by something huge. I wasn't sure if I could actually regrow amputated limbs. My left arm was bent the wrong way, tucked in a small gap between two slabs of concrete. I clenched my jaws, held my breath, and pulled it out so it could heal straight. "Phew-uck," I whimpered. Tears formed in my eyes, mixing with the layer of dust covering my face. I decided to rest for now, not that I could go anywhere with my leg stuck, hoping for my super regeneration to do its job. There were faint noises of sirens, probably fire trucks, but they soon disappeared. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be rescued by them. Anyway, what was important was I didn't hear rubble moving. The collapsed building had settled. I wasn't in any immediate danger. Once I had recovered enough, I was going to dig my leg out, wait for it to recover again, then try finding my way out. Maybe I could transform into Blanchette to have an easier time digging with claws. I didn't want to transform now because my mangled leg might be inherited by my Blanchette body, just like what happened when I first transformed due to my fatal injuries caused by Myra. Oh well, just chilling out for now. I then forced myself to take a nap, maybe it could speed up healing. But I couldn't sleep. My brain was on high alert in my vulnerable state. So, there I was, staring at the darkness, trying not to inhale dust, feeling my body mend itself, listening to my bones crack into place. After I didn't know how long, there was rumbling. Pebbles a few inches from my face stirred. A small cloud of dust descended from the huge piece of concrete a couple of feet above my head, making me cough. It didn't hurt as much this time. And what was that? I think I heard a voice. I strained my ears. Hello? Can you hear me? I was right, someone was out there. They were digging for me. This was good, I guess. What's the game plan? When they get me out, my squished leg would start healing rapidly, although it was unlikely they'd immediately notice it in the commotion. But once they brought me to the ambulance, the paramedics would recognize my inhuman healing, and that was going to be my signal to escape. Where was that tablecloth? I needed to cover my face. I could use my shirt, I guess. Modesty was going to take a back seat, hiding my identity was more important. Blanchette. Are you down here? Yohoo. Make some noise if you're alive. Obviously, I didn't reply. This wasn't Dean. Not Bianca either. Who else knew the name, Blanchette? Just wait a bit while I move these rocks away. Keep your head safe down there. I had a sinking feeling I knew this woman. Shit, that seagull from earlier. It wasn't just some random bird. But why would she be here in person? I squinted at the darkness. There were skittering sounds I picked up from the noise of rubble moving. Something dropped down from a hole. It gave off a cloudy white glow, illuminating the cramped space I was trapped in as soon as it plopped in front of me. A fetus-like thing, about the size of my fist, with a scorpion tail and 6 human hands. It stared at me. I say stared, but I wasn't sure it had eyes. There were jewels all over its body, including on what I assumed was its face, those could be its eyes. Golden designs connected these jewels, accenting its glossy white body. Trepanner, I muttered. A flashlight shone through the gaps. There you are, she said from above, speaking with her real voice. She sounded closer now. The giant slab overhead moved. This is heavy. Hop. There was a mighty crash as she uncovered me. Then she moved aside some of the smaller rocks. I was about to look up when the fetus thing went up to my face and menacingly waved its tail. Hello there, I said. Don't look at me, she said. Or I'll kill you. Okay, no prob. I'm going to close my eyes. I heard the fetus thing scuttle away. Can you get out now? No, my right leg's stuck. Ah, I see it. Hang on. She walked by my side. I opened my eyes a bit and caught a glimpse of her feet. They were about a size larger than mine, and she was wearing designer flip-flops. I recognized the brand, it was, oh. I exclaimed when she freed my leg. The pain came rushing in, but I actually welcomed just being able to feel my right leg again. Thank you so much. There you go, she said. I massaged my leg while keeping my eyes closed. Also, thank you for killing that giant Adumbri. Thanks to you and your team, especially Clive. I'll tell Clive, but not the rest of those asses. It's better if they don't know about you. Is that how Clive's spear became that huge? With the help of your team? There's a sexual joke there somewhere Clive would appreciate, she answered, giggling. But yeah, you got it right. Our team's composition is based around Clive's power. Including Boss Delirium too, although he didn't help in the earlier fight, otherwise that Adumbree would be pulverized. Why not? Because he's going to say to the overseers our team acted on our own. He did allow us to help, by the way. Throwing us under the bus, that prick. But it's the price to pay for disobeying orders, and Clive really wanted to save people. That's nice of him then. He shouldn't get all the praise, she said. I was the one who re-established his site. Sure, whatever you want. I didn't want to get on her bad side. Thank you, Trepanner, I said, turning to her direction with a big smile. For that, and for saving me just now. I was a tad tempted to peek at her face, but didn't dare to. Let me wipe off all that dust so I can see you better, she said. I let her clean my face. There was nothing I could do here. There was no point hiding my identity. You're pretty cute. Thanks. Don't get weirded out. Clive and I were talking about what you looked like in your human form. I wish more boys would think I'm cute, I said, just piling on the girl talk since she seemed interested in that. I doubted she got to gossip much with other Corbrings. If she actually cared about who I was, covering my face with my shirt wasn't going to help. I decided to just go with the flow and be friendly. I'm rather plain. Just a bit of makeup will do the trick. And confidence. Keep your chin up, girl. Even if you're not human, you shouldn't give up on guys. I guess you're right. Please don't say you're capturing me. She was right beside me, she could easily stop me if I tried to transform. Thanks for saving me and the dating advice. Anytime. I'm just going to wait here until my leg heals. Don't let me keep you from your mission, whatever that is. Go away now, shoo. You're really lucky my objective is just nearby, so it wasn't much of a detour to dig you out. I'm still waiting for confirmation of my mission parameters anyway, so I got time to spare. Really? What's your mission? It isn't killing the Titan Adumbree. Maybe she was hunting the rest of the 2MS. But wasn't that what Dario and the rest of the hero wannabes wanted to avoid? Sucks for them then. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to tell you. Oh, secret Corbring business. I'm not going to pry. Alright, I'll tell you, she excitedly said. She went closer to me and whispered in my ear. There's a new candidate for a Corbring initiate around here. Really? Wow. I wasn't stupid enough to ask who it was. Yup. I'm just waiting for the go signal and I'll pick him up, or maybe her. That's exciting. Right? Tell you what, since I'm in a good mood, I'll heal your leg for you. You don't have to, I began to say, but that fetus thing was already climbing up my leg. Oh, that feels refreshing. Those toothpaste commercials where they have like icy air to show fresh breath. It feels like that was injected into my leg, soothing the inflammation and numbing the pain. I'll even deliver you to your friends. How do you know? I'm always watching. Really? Just kidding. But my seagulls were there when your friend fought the huge guy. She's alive, by the way. She escaped. That's awesome. And I'll bring you to her. Hang on. I heard some beeps. Boss Delirium is calling. I think it's the instructions for getting the prospective Corbring. It's fine if you need to go. No, I already promised you. I can talk to my boss on the way. But I'll have to put you to sleep. I'm good, you already healed me. The fetus thing climbed to my back and poked my neck. It moved so fast I couldn't even react. What was? Ugh, how long was I out? Hang on, this felt like déjà vu upon déjà vu. And where was I? A cool breeze, the distant sounds of sirens, a faint smell of smoke. Errand. Huh. Is that her? Yes. She's alive. How did she get up here? I don't know. Myra rushed to my side and sat me up. Are you okay? She pried my eyes open. Yesh MK, I replied, my words slurring. I was still groggy from whatever drug Trepanner injected into my bloodstream. We were looking all. Myra? I said. I rubbed the sleepiness away from my eyes and looked at her. What the? Her eyes weren't blinking, her mouth open mid-sentence. Johann beside her also didn't move. In fact, nothing else was moving. The red and blue lights a couple of blocks away weren't blinking. The wind wasn't blowing anymore. And I couldn't hear anything. Hey. I turned around. There she was, sitting at the edge of the rooftop, looking back at me. She patted the spot beside her, inviting me to sit there. How was it? Did you have fun? Yeah, I broke into a big grin. I had lots of fun.